Okay guys, on Banyan Tree, I wanted to show you that there are actually two parts for our voices, okay? So look on the grand staff when we start to sing. You can see that it's bracketed really dark right here, and it shows that there's a numeral 1, numeral 2, in Roman numerals. Okay, so this means part 1 and this is part 2. And they're both written in treble clef. But typically what would happen is a part 2 is going to be your lower voices. Now, the range in these are really pretty similar. So it's not like, super high on the part 1 and super low on the part 2, like would happen maybe in a typical piece. But those of you who might be straining or find that your voice gets really tired by singing these upper notes like the D, then you might want to sing part 2. So I wanted to make a quick video to kind of play those parts for you so you could hear them and kind of get used to the way that sounds, because sometimes the part 2 does not sing the melody. Parts of the song they do, but parts they are harmonizing. So I'm going to show you how this goes here. Part 1 is going to start while part 2 is resting. And then at the top of page 3, part 1 rests while part 2 sings. So part of you, hopefully about half of you, will be singing part 2. Then if you can see here, part 1 and part 2 both sing together, and y'all are singing the same notes, so that is called unison. You'll be singing all the same notes. But when you get to the bottom of page 3, this last measure on the page, you break off into 2 different parts. You start off on the same notes, under, which is this note, but then the top part goes up. It has an interval of a third, like that, and then the bottom part starts going down, like that. So what we've been following has been part 1, because that's the melody. So we've been saying, me to rock so, you to rock so, under banyan tree. But now, the second part is going to follow along and go lower. Me to rock so, you to rock so, under banyan tree. And I jumped to the next page without you. As you can see, it goes like that, to that note. When you play those together, it sounds really nice, but it sounds weird by itself, especially if you're used to that melody. So it's something to get used to. So if you'll rewind this little section and practice that, I'll play it for you one more time. Let's see. I won't be able to turn the page because I'm holding a phone and playing. So I'm just going to play it for you, and then you have to remember, you turn the page and listen to what it sounds like. Me to rock so, you to rock so, under banyan tree. So that is the second part. And the way it sounds together is, okay? So keep going. Rest, 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 rest. Everybody's resting. Look at this line, starting at measure 29. The top line is doing the melody. But part 2 is harmonizing. You're going to start on the same note you ended on with tree. So if you'll remember what that note sounds like as we listen to the instrumental part, you come back to that note. Ladies make curtsy, gentlemen make bow. Ladies make curtsy, gentlemen make bow. That's your part. And if you follow along at the top, it's more of the same. You're staying on that same note. Me to rock so, you to rock so, under banyan tree. Do you recognize that sound? that is the melody again. So you're picking that back up, and in fact, the top line is singing the same thing, so you're in unison. So that's easy. You've got that part. But this next line, in the middle of the page, you're going to go back down again. So if you'll just memorize how it sounds to go down instead of follow that melody line that goes up in thirds, you'll get used to it, and it will become kind of like your melody. You'll just get it'll be a habit for you. So that's what you'll imagine every time you think of this song. You'll think of those notes. And then when it's time to sing together, it will be easy for you, but you have to really get it ingrained in your head, how it sounds. So, me to rock so, you to rock so, under Banyan Tree. That's your part. But then you come back all together again, unison. So you just have to pay attention to what's happening on the staff. Okay, this is your clue. You'll know when to go low or high by following the notes on the staff, obviously, okay? Now, let's see if there's anything else that is gonna trip you up. Here, you're gonna go low again. Same thing that we've been doing. And then look at this line. What do you notice? Now we're not together at all. Some of us are singing the same notes, but at different times. So we have our part 2 comes in first. That's the melody. So part 2, you have the melody. Part 1 on the top line, you are the harmony. You're kind of like a descant. That's like a nice little line at the top, at a higher interval than the melody. That is just to be like an ornament, a decoration at the top, okay? So you'll be a little quieter. You'll be less important. We want the melody to stand out, and then the descant comes in quietly. That's what you'll sound like. Then we join hands. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Dance round and round. 2, 3. Now we went back to the melody, right? Well, the top line, it's not exactly melody, as it's the second line is doing the actual melody that we've learned so far. The top line is harmonizing, but then right there at the end, under Banyan Tree, they come back in on the melody, okay? So together, that sounds like this. All together there, okay? So this section might be a little difficult for me to play with only one hand. But it's going to sound like the second line there comes in first. Then we join hands and dance around and round, right? Then we join hands and dance around and round. And then you're just going to continue with the melody, okay? So the way it's going to go, it's the second part, sorry. Then we join like that. Okay, so now that top line is holding that note. Do you see the tie? So it holds it for 3 counts there, and then the next measure, 1 more count, so that's 4 total beats. So, sorry, that was terrible. Okay, something like that. And we'll practice that in class, but I wanted you to kind of get an idea of what to expect. So I need you to be thinking, if you think you can handle doing the second part, I would almost like it if you could email me back a response like, hey, I'm going to focus on that second part. I'm going to try and learn that second part. Those of you who talk to me about the pieces being really high, then that's definitely for you. You guys, obviously you're singing at a lower octave. typically the second part in a piece like that is sung by the guys. Like if we only had a duet, we had a girl and a guy, the girl would be singing the top line and the guy would be singing the bottom line. So you guys might want to consider that, unless we happen to have a guy who has a really nice, high, strong voice that we might want to put on the top line. So let's just consider those things. Maybe email me back. I want you to pay attention to what the notes are doing as you listen, and I will try and do maybe a video with the piano accompaniment, because the things I can find on YouTube where people have performed this piece, there are different versions. In fact, as you can see here on this back page, we've been singing loudly all this time, but then we start going softer, mezzo piano, and then we come down here, piano, and then pianissimo. So we're getting quieter and quieter and quieter. So it's actually supposed to end really quietly. But some of the performers that I've seen continue at the same dynamic. So maybe they're interpreting it differently, or perhaps they have a different piece of music, but the same song, and just written differently. But I want you to pay attention to the things that you see on the page, and we're going to discuss those things next time. I'll try and put a video in here that is the piano accompaniment, although I will have to have my phone down, and so it'll be a black screen. It will be boring to look at. But I'm not talented enough to hold the phone and play the piano at the same time. So practice away.